You know, every week I hear stories from youth, people who walk into the church who are broken and hurting, how their dad is gambling and he gambled all the rent away, and how brother is on speed, and they had to pick him up from the police office again, you know, and hire a lawyer so he can stay out of jail, and you know how dad is drinking and abusing mom. And so, you know, the addictions will kill us. I mean, there's good addictions, there's good habits, and there's also bad addictions and bad habits. And really, God, as far as we make love habit neronak. We're, you know, inch for getzanes, you know, that's what you reap. You know, whatever you sow is what you reap. As you understand the principles of farming. So today we're going to focus in on the topic of drugs. And we've titled this show "The Truth About Drugs." And the reason why we want to talk about this issue is, like I said earlier, there's an epidemic in the city of Glendale and Burbank and the cities that surround us. And of course, it's really worldwide. But since we're not in other states and other countries, we're going to focus on our world and our community. And really, I know the city of Glendale, you don't see much graffiti on the walls. You see grandmas and grandpas walking down the street. You know, you see Armenian, you know, grandpas walking down the street, you know, sitting in the corner, and everything looks nice and clean. You know, you don't see too many gang members. You don't see, you know, the Hispanics, you know, the Cholos, and you don't see too many Ansevera, you know, the Crips and the Bloods. You don't see too much of that. You see a lot of prosperous businesses and homes and families walking around. But you know what? There's a hidden epidemic. It's a hidden secret, Glendale, Burbank, that I want to tell you about. And you know what the hidden secret is? The hidden secret is tons, lots of our youth are doing drugs. Kezi pamasem. Shh. Anak yesef tun asi inzik nis bahenk. Letsun yerdasat nera mutin mecha. Marijuana gedzachengor. Speed genengor. Desak drugger genengor. Shh. Megum na miser. Vro meg hayek. Bekor bahenk asi. Vor chiamushnank anunis. Megna chikitna vor merdagan, meryerechan. Drugs gedzachegor, drugs genegor. Okay? So that's really the secret. Okay? A lot of youth, and I talk to them every week. I sat down with the gentleman last Friday. Said, man, I'm a chronic weed smoker, and no one knows. Babas inji 100% trust gene. Ite is saying that yes drugs chem zachergor inji gahavada. Pites badveli. Letsum gedzachemgor. I mean, I'm smoking it all the time. I'm addicted. I need help. Yev gamushnamgor chemki der inchbitnem. I'm ashamed. So folks, I know you want to think that your Armenian child that goes to Hoover High School, that goes to Glendale High, is above those things. But they're not. And many of them are developing addictions. And they're really like walking dead. Gerevin tursa vor meraj chen, paits iragan meradzen, gorsavadzen. And so today we're going to focus in on this topic. Not only to expose the problem, but to let people know we care. And today I have some guests on this show. One of the guests, many of you know. Oridi Kiregas Mega. He's been working and laboring to try to be part of the solution and not the problem. And I know that he's endured some criticism in the past, and people have not really been 100% behind his ministry. But from the short time that I've known him, I've seen a heart that's huge and big. And someone who's willing to do something, not only to help, of course he needs to make a living for himself and his family, but take risk and step out to help this community. And so today, as we talk about this topic, my question today, Glendale Burbank, is very simple. Do you care enough to even watch this show today, to call us in, tun hokunis, O gëses, jes inch hok bitnem, jes ndanikis, bekor më dadzem, bekor ashkadim, bekor asien e manienem. I have too many problems to worry about what other kids are doing. Well, anak gëmë dadzenk, inche vor probleme mer duni me që ka. Verqen gësenk, o ga inzi gëna okner. Jegetsinere uren. Programnere uren. Pas yerpeme merin ziknin, we don't look at ourselves. Merin zikin chenk nair. Yevchenko said, when everything was going good, what were we doing? When our kid was 9 years old, 10 years old, what were we doing? Oh, yegetsi bechunin yertaru. Ani havadat selnerun hamare. Oh, bechunin jamanag ansener bekor ashadin tram shenenk. Asi amergaye. But then one day when you find out at 19 years old, your kid calls from the LA County Jail, Baba, pandi mechnem. Zinboro inzi jampan pernetsut ev de sabor marijuana unim otoin mecha. Inzi gnas kararner. Ama, inchera. And so folks, we need to deal with this problem before it gets out of control. It's already out of control, Glendale Burbank. It's out of control. I would say 50% of the Armenian kids on these campuses are smoking weed, doing speed, smoking crack, drinking all the time. It's a problem. And even the Bible in Galatians chapter 5, verse 19, Paul the Apostle says, the acts of the sinful nature are obvious: sexual immorality, impurity, debauchery, idolatry, witchcraft. The word witchcraft is the Greek word pharmakia, where we get the word pharmacy or pharmaceutical. And Paul the Apostle, Bogos Arikala Gesevor, Merkod Martin Korzerevor Mecheniskene, it longs for physical pleasure. That's what drugs bring. They bring sensation, they bring a new reality. So understand that this is much more than just a social problem. This is a spiritual problem. Of course, there's more things to solve the problem than just spiritual. Sometimes people need to get out their environment. They're going to drink it. So today we're going to talk about some real life solutions. We're going to get real. We want to get to the bottom of this. We only got a short time, folks. So let me go ahead and start by introducing my guest. And we want you to call in 818-913-2787. We want to hear your opinion. We want to hear what you're doing to solve the problems in your family, in your relatives' lives, and in this community. We want to hear if you need help. Call in and ask some questions. 818-913-2787. So let me go ahead and introduce my guest. To my left here is Ani Demirchan. How you doing, Ani? Every week it's a blessing for you to be here. Over here is Artur Asudurian. And over here is, I just met him today, is Coco.
Yeah.
Okay. And in front of me here, I want to make sure I pronounce his name right, Armin Karapetian. All right, Armin. God bless you, man. It's a privilege to have you here today. Well, amen. So let me just get right to it. Okay, I want to ask you guys some questions. I'm going to start with Armin, okay? Because I know that you have been through it, have overcome, and now trying to help people to overcome themselves. Tell me from your perspective, what is the real what's your observation of the problem in our community concerning drugs and what you see?
Thank you for having me. Բարենք տեսես սիրելի արազատներ։ Այսօրով այս ժողովուրդը պատվելի ջայքը մեծ գործ են անում դպրոցներում երիտասարդությունով Աստծո խոսքն են սովորացնում, որը շատ կարևոր է։ Jack, I'm very proud because I see youth right in front of us. To answer your question, ամենառաջինը ծնողներն են։
Okay.
Denial. Our kids, Armenians, are spoiled.
Okay.
They have too much of everything. 16 years old, they have a BMW, they have a Mercedes,
Mm-hmm.
and their parents financed it. they pay for their gas, etc., and even their cigarettes. You
Yeah.
understand? They're 16. The father and mother are buying them cigarettes. You understand?
Yeah.
So that means I see a lot of enabling.
Okay.
Enabling is the biggest problem with our community, and denial.
Yeah.
If amanchumeng, I astu hakusnera hakne. To even wear, to even be proud that we're Christians, to even accept that we have a drug problem. You understand?
Yeah.
They think the parents. I say 80% is the parents and 20% is the surrounding.
Okay.
If all the parents, if every single Armenian kid did not have a BMW or transportation, you'd see them more at Subways, Burger Kings, etc., looking for a 9-to-5 minimum wage job.
Okay.
And earning respect and
Okay.
seeing what a man is in life.
Yeah.
So they don't have those responsibilities as a youth, even while they're going to school or even summer jobs. They don't even have simple chores at home.
Yes.
They have allowances without earning.
Yeah.
Understand?
Absolutely.
So why would I? I wouldn't either. None of us would. That's why I'm a product. I'm a victim of my community. Understand?
You know, that's true what you're saying. Today I was actually, one of the things that I wrote here that came to my mind was that I believe that parents play a big role in the way they're shaping their kids.
Most
And
definitely.
what's interesting is when I talk to parents and they go, well, you know, I did everything. You know, I fed them, I gave them a home, I bought them things, and they don't realize how sick they are.
Most definitely.
You know?
They're good. Our parents are excellent.
Yes,
All of our
they
parents
work hard.
are excellent. But if you bring, just like we have Armenians from Hayastan,
Yeah.
we have Armenians from Barskastan,
Yeah.
Iraq, Syria, etc.,
Yeah.
Lebanon, you know? And we know the culture that's surrounding us. If
Yeah.
it's Muslims, if it's Arabic, in Hayastan they know how to custom to Russia.
Yeah.
They applied themselves to learn the customs and
Yeah.
what it takes to live in Russia.
Yeah.
And they could teach that. If our parents have brought our children for a better opportunity in the United States, it's up to them to educate themselves what's going on with the schools,
Yeah.
what's going on with the community, what's going on with the city they're living in. You understand?
Yeah.
They say, "Amanchum and Osman harevani yerechana."
Yeah.
If you don't
Yeah.
care about your neighbor's son, you say, "Oh, thank God it's not." If you don't care about your neighbor's son, harevani yerechen, he's going to bring the dope to your son.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because we've all encountered it, right?
Mhm.
We've seen it. We don't find it somewhere.
Yes.
Always someone shows the way. We've seen it at a party. One of those party people could be our relative, our neighbor. If we stepped up, even as a member of the community, you see an old man, a mother, don't hide and say, "You know what? That's Juliet's son. Look at him.
Yeah.
Look at him. He's such a bad kid."
Yeah. And what
Instead of
yeah.
instead of doing that, you know what? Step up to him and say, "What are you doing?"
Yeah.
Look for help. Because if you don't help Juliet's son,
Yeah.
he's gonna bring it home.
Exactly. And what you see, and what's interesting is sometimes parents will be like, "Well, I didn't do drugs, I didn't gangbang, I didn't mess up in school," and what they don't realize is that their lives, a lot of the parents, their lives are chaotic, and just because, I mean, what I'm saying is, they're emotionally just like, there are time bombs. They're stressed out, and what happens is because their lives are chaotic, their kids' lives are chaotic. And just because their kid chooses to manifest that chaos through drugs or whatever that it may be, what they don't realize is because their lives aren't in order. You know what I'm saying? You know, and so their kids' lives aren't in order.
Exactly.
You know?
I see. I teach a lot of family groups. If I have a gentleman or a girl in my facility, it's a party that the parents have to come and
Yeah.
attend, because a lot of kids ask, and there's relapse, understand, which is a big role in an addiction while someone is trying to get treated.
Yeah.
They get clean for 90 days, 1 year. They go home. Their
Boom.
parents say, "Mer patere vos kuts brilner." they start putting the past in their face. They're still living in the past. You
Mhm.
understand? And the kid goes out and uses again because he's looking for moral support. You understand?
Yeah.
He's talking about, I'm going to church. You know?
Yeah.
What? You know,
Yeah.
you sissy bitaga marteri kids. You
Yeah.
understand? And all of a sudden, why don't you just take the gun and shoot your son?
Well, you know, I want to ask Coco a question because I know that he's overcame some things, and I was trying to make this clear, and I made it clear last year. You never truly overcome any addiction.
Never.
All you can do is control it
Exactly.
with the help of God, and with having a healthy, principled life. But let me say something. When it comes to this issue of who's to blame, the parent or the child, I think about it in this kind of analogy. You know, the sun beats down on two people. The sun is scorching down on two people. Okay, areva yergu marti varan dakutunga peregor. It's bringing the heat. Okay, one person dake and in the it's just in shade. Hovin or shukin mecha. Shukin mecha gerta. Nun areva iren marmina datsuts. Shukin mecha kan. The other person arevin dagagena. He faints and he falls. Okay? The son is like the parent. The messed up parent. The parent whose life is out of order. Okay? Shat gashhadi, shat shiraine, yeretsi het shertar, hech panchuni, ujchuni hokin mecha. Shiganar lisser, oh, kuluchs sadik, oh, hajis, hajis, chemuzer lisser, hoknadzem, himak, oh, hajis. Let's problem. Let's zach serunink. Chemnar himak lisser inch galagur tebrotzil mech. You know, so the thing is, the parent is like the sun, and they're radiating heat. One child runs to the shade and finds help. He finds another support group, church, another family, and doesn't go and do drugs. Doesn't faint. The other one sits there under the heat of the family, and they faint. Pangalan, the tamrin. And it's like the parent is responsible for the heat they bring, and the child is responsible for the way they respond. Mm-hmm. So both play a role. And what I find is that families are in denial. They don't take responsibility. Moms and dads aren't taking responsibility for the kind of home they're creating. No rules, no boundaries, no consistency as far as God, church.
Jack, I'm sorry.
But the kid is responsible for the way he responds.
You said home. Right now, we're in someone's house.
Yes.
You know what's going on at home, and everyone's watching. They're not even watching us. They don't even care.
Yeah.
They're listening to us 1 minute. This ain't a movie. So wake up. You understand what's going on right now?
Yeah.
They're deciding what time tonight they're gonna go out.
Yeah.
Who cares how bad their kid is?
Yeah.
Hensima tuna Tekuz bajanvat zuyker.
Yeah.
Tekuz kharvat zuyker.
Yeah.
Achchik inchanum, because there's no focus. You understand?
Yeah.
In the house right now, they're talking about what they're gonna wear.
Yeah.
How much money they're gonna put in the envelope.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
they look good. Then you're gonna go etalwe karsanika or whatever it is, the parahandas, whatever it is, alone without your kids.
Yeah.
Not demanding that your children have to go.
Yeah.
And then the parents get drunk.
Yeah.
The mothers talk about look at her, and the kids are doing coke in the bathroom
Yeah.
at the wedding.
And what's interesting I find is with most of these kids that are really bound by speed or crack, the parents are really scared to set boundaries.
They say, "Tuna ara, dursun mi ara?"
Ayo, gabak nangon irit
Sabırını
buziklenon.
ver.
And the kids are playing all kind of manipulation games. Coco, I know that you're working with Armin. I want to hear a little bit about what you're doing and what caused you to get into this field of empowering people who are bound by drugs.
Wow. I've been using drugs half my life, and I've been incarcerated before as a result of it.
Okay.
I was out of control entirely.
Okay.
And my drug addiction got to be so bad that I was pretty much near death.
Okay.
And I was in Armin's facility, Shadow Hills.
Okay.
As a patient, I was a wreck at first.
Okay.
I was using crystal meth and heroin intravenously for the last 10 years.
Okay.
And I'd also gotten arrested during my run, at the end of my run, and I had a court case which sent me actually to the rehab.
Okay.
And so basically, since then, I've been clean for 4 months now.
Awesome. Awesome.
And
Awesome.
thank
You know what I'm saying? That's praise God.
Yeah, it's my first time in recovery.
Yeah.
I'd never been to any other program.
Yeah.
Never tried any kind of treatment. And the bottom line is, you have to want to change. You have to want to find some kind of help.
Yeah.
And we go through lots of things. Part of our treatment includes the big book.
Yeah.
AA, Alcoholics
Yes.
Anonymous, Narcotics Anonymous. The 12 steps. We go to outside meetings. We have one-on-one counseling. We have counseling all day, every day at the facility. And we try to build an environment that's safe and clean.
Yeah.
And we don't tolerate anything other than that.
Yeah.
And which was helpful for me because I feel safe there. I still live there.
Yeah.
Because I'm, somewhat uncertain of what lays outside. You know?
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm learning that right now. I'm learning.
Yeah.
I'm learning to go out there and know how to live.
Yeah.
You know? And so we act as a family.
Yeah.
People walk through the door, and they're instantly a member of our family.
Yeah.
And that's what we do. We support each other. It's a huge support system.
Yeah.
And that's about it.
That's awesome, man. That's awesome. Now, man, I just want to say to you, congratulations.
Thank you.
4 months. I don't care if it's 4 days.
Yeah.
Every day is important with God,
Sure.
And so I'm really proud of you. And that's huge, Now, what led you into that lifestyle?
You mentioned something about the parents. I'm a product of two parents who neither drank nor did drugs.
Okay.
I came from a very supportive family, very loving family.
Okay.
Although they were dysfunctional.
Yeah.
My parents are divorced, and since I've been in treatment, I've come to find out many things.
Yes.
Relative to my beginning, my drug use.
Yes.
Which was I had resentment towards both of them.
Mm-hmm.
And that's probably initially what got me to start not caring and start experimenting and whatnot.
Yeah.
And as a result of that, it just escalated. It just got worse. As the years went by, my habits got worse. My behavior got worse. I was out committing crimes to support my habit.
Yeah.
It's not something I'm proud of.
Yeah.
But it comes with the territory.
Yeah.
And
drug culture.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And like I said earlier, I was incarcerated over this.
Yeah.
So as soon as I got here, I'm thinking, okay, I'm going to get treatment. I'm going to get clean.
Mm-hmm.
And I find out that it entails a lot of things. First and foremost, that you have to admit that you're powerless over your disease. It's a disease, is what it is.
Yeah.
And second is you have to find faith in a power higher than yourself.
Yeah.
And third, you have to change everything. And
Yeah.
you can't just hold on to one aspect of your past and decide to change, because that one thing will cause you to, as I mentioned earlier, relapse.
Mm-hmm.
So I had to basically change everything about myself
Mm-hmm.
in order for me to be able to recover fully. And it's not like I'm cured and I'll be on my way.
Yeah.
This is a lifelong process.
Yeah.
There is no set time or day as far as how long it might take for me to be well. I will never be well.
Absolutely.
Till the day I die, it's something I have to keep working on.
Yeah.
And so having all this knowledge now, I'm better equipped. I got the tools necessary for me to go on and live a prosperous, normal life.
Yes.
Something that I have no idea about. I'm just now learning.
Yeah. Yeah. I appreciate your honesty and vulnerability. And it's funny when you get into the why issue as to why people get addicted to drugs.
Yeah.
It's really complex. It's not like just one thing. It's not like we have a science down to it. But it always comes down to, I think, just recognizing that there's a part of us that loves that which we can't touch, forbidden fruit aspect. I think in the core of even when you examine your life, I mean, the reality is that there was a part of you that wanted the forbidden fruit. And you said experimented, you know, and I think the whole idea of people starting to experiment and then they get caught, they get trapped. You know, it's, you know, we love things that bring immediate pleasure, and it's like, say no to drugs campaign is not going to work. The more you say no to young people, the more they want to do it. Especially when it's glamorized in hip hop culture, on videos, I mean, it's just, it's everywhere. You guys, what do you guys think about reasons why people get addicted, as far as observations you've seen at your school or maybe even in your own life or whatever?
Reasons would be just because mostly what I've seen is like, you know, somebody comes up, oh, you know, we did drugs, this, that, and people are interested in it.
Yeah.
Now, how, I think, is another, how people get addicted to drugs. The first time I ever encountered drugs was in 7th grade.
Yeah.
7th grade.
And where was that at? Where were you going to school?
Yeah, at my friend's house.
Okay.
A couple of guys just brought a joint over, they started smoking and stuff. I was like, you know, what are you guys doing? I've never did drugs in my life and stuff.
Yeah.
And, you know, they're like, no, you know, I had the mindset to back off of it.
Yeah.
You know? But many people don't. People want fame, people want glory or whatever, you know, like you said in hip hop, it's like, ooh, this, that. But it's through little kids. I mean, we have like 6th, 7th graders. Right now, parents who think their kids haven't done drugs, guess what? They've probably done drugs.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
I have a lot of friends that do drugs still today. They're addicted to it like crazy. I mean, I went to high school, which was considered a good high school, you know, but people everywhere were doing drugs all around me. It was like, whoa, I never knew that guy was addicted to drugs. I never knew that guy was addicted to drugs, you know, and it's in the Armenian community. It's in our homes. It's our brothers. It's our sisters.
Yeah.
I mean, there's so many females doing drugs.
Yeah.
And what does it lead to? It leads to, you know, sex, the party life, this, that, you know, and how it gets spread is through normal conversation with people. You come across somebody, hey, how you doing, bro? Yeah, want to go smoke a joint?
Yeah.
They go somewhere and start smoking, you know, and it leads later on to, you know, it starts with marijuana because marijuana is so like normal nowadays. It's like cigarettes. Everybody's doing it.
Yeah.
You know, it's like,
you know, it's interesting. Arthur,
cool.
You said that you never did it and stuff. What stopped you from even getting? I mean, is really our thing not only redeeming people who've already been trapped in it, but preventing it? You know, and I'd like to know your thoughts on prevention and also your thoughts, because I'm sure you think about this issue. Because I mean, I know you're in the business of redeeming people, in a sense of who are trapped in it. But what are your thoughts on preventing it? You know, Arthur and then Armin.
Well, me personally was I think my mom had spoken to me about it. You know, you're gonna come across drugs, drinking. You know, my mom was real open with that. Like, you know, don't do anything.
So you guys had a real close relationship.
Yeah.
Like, I met your mom, and I see that you guys talk a lot.
Yeah, and my mom basically, you know, I have 2 older brothers, and I have a younger brother. So I mean, she's been through the world.
Okay.
You know, my oldest brother's 30.
Mm-hmm.
So she's been through all of that. She said, hey, you're gonna come across it, just back off of it. And I guess that moment came up. I was like, you know, I'm not gonna hurt my mom.
Yeah, and it seems that some people are wired towards different addictions. Mm-hmm. One person, it may be sexual addictions. Another person, it may be drug addiction. Another person, it may be work addiction. You know, whatever. Armin, what are your thoughts on prevention?
I do a lot of intervention, but prevention is more important because we could save the future. There's a better chance.
Mm-hmm.
The chances are more to save the future than the present that is in addiction and has about 10 years under their belt of being a convict, of being an addict, or a thief, anything. Prevention, we're doing prevention right now on television.
Yeah.
But how many people are listening? That's the question. Alone is very hard, Jack.
Yeah.
I'm alone, you're alone, but the community, if they were all get involved and listen to what we're saying, and we would actually have a big prevention in each city. We would have landmarks, you understand? The church would be full. We would have less people in treatment.
Yeah.
Understand? It disgusts me to see more people at my rehab, understand? It's not fun.
Yeah.
I used to be in a whole different field before I ended up in this field.
Yeah.
I became an addict, that's why I came into this field. So I wish sometimes it would go away.
Yeah.
I wish this whole process would go away, but it's not.
Yeah.
I have 2 children myself. The future is getting worse.
Yeah.
And it's scary. In order to prevent the future, we gotta attack the schools. Number
Yeah.
1 is the schools, and you gotta start at elementary.
Yeah.
Not even junior high. Elementary, before they hop in junior high. The last grade to each school. If it's 6 these days, I don't know, they changed it around.
Yeah.
If they're gonna go to junior high after 6, you gotta attack the 6th graders. When do they go to high school now? 9th or 8th? I don't know.
Ninth.
9th?
From 8th, ending 8th.
Okay, so you gotta attack 8 before they end up in high school.
Yeah.
That's the prevention to each series of grades. Also, when I was growing up in Hollywood, there was guardian angels. You understand?
Mhm.
They were a little crazy, but they did a lot of work. You understand?
Mhm,
They did
mhm.
care about the community. This whole community, Glendale, is flooded with Armenians. If we're talking about the Armenian, I help all kinds of people.
Mm-hmm.
If we're talking about which we are, because we're on Armenian television, Armenian community needs to be flooded. You understand? With our politicians,
Mhm.
our churches
Mm-hmm.
are blind.
Yeah.
They
yeah.
have no clue. They might wear a nice, beautiful robe and have no clue.
Yeah.
Like I talk about church. Why have I been afraid of church? I have,
Yeah.
growing up.
Yeah.
That's why I became an addict.
Mm-hmm.
We go to church. My mom took me to Sunday church. My dad or my friends.
Yeah.
Everyone stands up, sits down. You look around. Are they standing?
Yeah.
Let's stand. And we don't even know
Yeah.
why we're standing.
Yeah.
I guarantee somebody's grandfather
Yeah.
does not have a clue why he stands or sits.
Yeah.
What are you paying respect to?
Yeah.
A building?
Yeah.
What are you paying respect to?
Yeah.
Why are you standing up? At least know. We're too. I don't want to
Hands
say
off.
the word monkey.
No.
We're too. We, you know what? We are.
We're hands
gonna-
off. We're not.
We look at who's driving what.
Yeah.
We gotta drive it. If they're paying 10,000 at the church to baptize someone or whatever it is, you understand? Because our whole community has a problem.
Yeah.
Denial. I've been
Yeah.
living in America 26 years. Why did I have to go to prison for 11 years, Jack?
Yeah.
Why couldn't they help me? You know, the community's been around.
Yeah.
We've had Armenian governors. We've had Armenian people in power, but nobody stopped to think about this. We don't even have a holy ground. Holy ground is a cemetery.
Yeah.
We don't even have an Armenian cemetery.
Yeah.
So, and we have buildings. We have banquet halls. You know, we have all kinds of stuff.
Yeah.
We have nice houses on the
We,
hills.
hey, we love weddings though, man.
We love that.
Yeah.
You know, if you spend so much, at least put 10% of that.
Yeah.
Why don't you help someone else's kid or your own child?
I think the root of it is true Christianity, a Christianity of Saint Grigor, that went and literally made an alphabet. So a group. I mean, the guy produced a whole alphabet in Armenian so he can communicate knowledge of God's truth, Asfatin Shuncha,
Amen.
that can empower people.
Amen.
And those first Armenians were going to other countries
Missionaries that
and trying to help their communities. Now,
we can't even help ourselves.
we don't even talk to the guy down the street who's Armenian. What of Beirutzie?
Let me ask you a question, please, Jack. I don't want to.
Yeah, go ahead. No.
I mean, you asked me to
No,
come
no,
here
no,
on
no, no, no,
controversial.
no. Hold on. No. I know it's not about controversy because this is
It's the truth.
this is an Armenian-focused show. So before we can even deal with the solutions, we have to deal with the epidemic, and the epidemic is that there is a sense of denial.
That's the biggest
There's a
problem.
sense of pride and selfishness.
False pride.
Selfishness and stubbornness. And the issue is that people, Christians, Armenians who call themselves Christians, refuse to become other focused. Because if we did, we would get involved. We would put our money into people.
To me, Jack, you're a pastor. You have
Yeah.
more, to my knowledge, is forgiving.
Yeah.
We don't forgive each other as
Yeah.
a race.
Yeah.
How can we become Christians? That's what
Yeah.
I ask myself.
Yeah.
You know, yes, I understand we have hatred. We're fighters. The Turks killed us, etc.
Yeah.
Maybe if we start forgiving each other and forgiving them, something might change.
Yeah.
You understand? Today, 90 years ago, it was the genocide. Today is the genocide again. And it's not the Turks. You don't have the Turks to blame.
Yeah.
You know, the devil uses anybody.
Yeah.
And today is drugs, you know? And it's not a Turk giving the drug to the Armenian. It's one Armenian give it to the next.
Yeah.
One Armenian man taking advantage of a young
Hey,
woman.
I just want to say something real quick. I don't what I saw Vingor. I want to talk to the young men, and some of them, you know who I'm talking to, because they run in the streets of Burbank and Glendale. They think they're gangsters. They think they're essays and cholos. And they're giving all the young little Armenians and all the young little white dudes and Mexicans, whatever. But I'm talking to the, specifically, I'm talking to the older Armenian gentlemen, 20 to 30 years old, who are passing the joint to the young buck. God's going to judge you. God's going to hold you accountable. Asfat kezi judge bitne. Voro tun chese sergor inchap tun hivantes, ye tun himak bzik nerung porteskor hivantener. I'm talking to the little wannabe record labels, the wannabe gangster rappers that want to be Armenian gangster rappers. God's going to judge you. Because all you're doing is poisoning the community with your 50-cent garbage. That you can live a lifestyle of drugs, sexual promiscuity, all the negativity, and not pay consequences. Now, you can glamorize what it feels like to be behind the bars and make a rap video rapping behind the bars. But when you're behind the bars, from morning until night, having to walk down the chow in a straight line, seeing fools get shanked in front of you, people dying of AIDS, homosexuals in front of you, it ain't no rap video. I see Televisioni Panche. I see Iragan Ganke. And this is what we're saying, man. There's a realism that people they're in the AMC movie theaters, man, about the whole, because the drug culture does present itself in a glamorized way when you first get into it. You know, the motel parties, the drinking the wine, the hanging out. You know, so it's like, whoa, this is, because it's the whole lifestyle, music in the background. You know,
you know what I call, Jack? You mentioned prison. I call prison the devil's kingdom.
Yeah.
And the world outside the playground. Who are you going to be?
Yeah.
That's who are you going to be out here? Are you going to follow or are you going to lead?
Yeah.
You know? And you say wannabe, I see so much. Understand? Yeah. And then they can't even get help. They're so... I kick out a lot of people in my program.
Oh, yeah.
You know why? Yeah. For pride issues. They talk about, we have this word called goakam. Okay? They come inside, I love them all.
Yeah.
But they're lost. They've heard a few words or they've seen a few things and they own maybe a few guns that's not even theirs. All of a sudden that makes them tough.
Yeah.
Where I come from, we respected someone one day older than us. You understand?
Yeah.
That's where we come from. That's what Armenians were. That's what we've been taught. We come here, the new generation is losing it.
Yeah.
A 15-year-old, I'm scared of.
Yeah.
Because I don't know what he's thinking or what he's on.
Yeah.
They come inside and disrespect an old man in my program that's trying to get help. They talk about, you know what? Look at this Pars guy. Look at this Beiruti. Look at this guy. Look at... You're out of here. Understand?
Yeah.
Who are you? You don't even know. We all started from somewhere. We split.
Yeah.
Who are you to judge someone?
Yeah.
And then you go inside in prison, you say I'm Armenian. Or I'm a Southsider. You understand? If you're so Armenian and you call a Parskai or Beiruti or Iraqi Armenian not Armenian, why are you going to prison and becoming a Sureño?
Yeah.
You know, if they don't know what that means.
Yeah, no. Yeah.
All of a sudden you're Southern United Rasa when you were Armenian?
Yeah. Well, see, what people don't realize is that with the drug lifestyle, there's consequences. Now, if you're willing to pay the consequences, go on and do what you're going to do. But just know that the consequences are real, and you experience it every day. And let's not even talk about the spiritual consequences. The Bible talks about people who are engaged in witchcraft, which is drugs, will not inherit the kingdom of God. So there's a reality of the spiritual dimension where God wants you to be free. God wants you to experience freedom from any negative addiction. He wants you to find your life and fulfillment in Him. Isn't this what it's really about? And if you replace God with idols, cocaine, whatever, pornography, God says, okay, you want to replace me now on earth? Then you can have it for all eternity. So there's a eternal spiritual... they're living in sin and in hell now. They're going to live in hell for all eternity. So you're not going to be able to blame God. You chose your path. And the path you choose now will reflect what happens in eternity. Ani, you've been quiet. What are your thoughts on some of our conversation here?
I was very interested about what Armin said about how we have to start from elementary, because junior high is where everybody already starts to make up what they want to be when they grow up. You know, like when in junior high, you become the person you're going to be for the rest of your life.
Yeah.
So when you start talking to people in elementary, then they'll have a stronger will, so that when they get to junior high and they are offered drugs, then they'll be able to say no to it.
Yeah, you see, I'm totally feeling what you're saying, but this is the problem, man. You got an elementary kid or a junior high kid. And here we are. We do a lot of outreach, man. We're on campuses every week talking to kids. And you can see the kid is lost. Totally lost. And we try to reach them, and you know what happens? Irens mamani baban, mezi telefon genen, yevgesen in daras imach chigas chemuzegor kuyeretzit kar. Vorotuk Panchek, Apostolic Armenian, or Catholic Czech. I mean, are you crazy? First of all, we are Christians. We may have differences on secondary issues.
Listen,
but the problem is, forget that. Forget that. See, wait, hold on. Forget that. Forget that. Who cares what we are as far as our denomination? We're not some cult. The issue is we're people who are trying to do something in prevention, and they're wondering why their kids are lost. They'd rather have their kids at home. Duni Mecha, video game nercharan, yet cable tiden amenor.
You said
then be involved in a positive peer pressure group that deals with these issues and has fun in life, has programs for them to go out in a positive, fun peer environment that's controlled and is getting to the root of it. They'd rather have them maintain their Armenianism and be lost inside than at a very young age be in a because there is no positive peer groups apart from churches.
No way.
I mean, Boy Scouts now. I mean, the Boy Scout leader may be smoking some joints after.
Can I mention something about the truth about drugs, the truth about addiction? Yeah,
go ahead.
Please. It's sort of your children over your tarekanits tas tarekana. They're future drug addicts and addicts. You know why? Because they're playing Nintendo. They're playing video games. That movie, the one that they rape women, and there's a video game.
The one.
I've heard of it.
Yeah, the
Vice
street.
City.
Where they drive around and shoot prostitutes. Yeah.
Vice City. I sort of Panam Kezi Encantuner elementary. Why I mention elementary? They're on the game board all day. And you're programming addiction right there.
Yeah.
Արդեն մոլիա դառնում խաղի։ Սկսում է 7 տարեկանից մոլիություն. He's already weak. No willpower.
Yeah.
No drug addict, no addict has willpower.
Yeah.
That's why we need God. We need a higher power to support us. You understand?
Yeah.
The minute we think we're in control, we lose.
Yeah.
Այսօրով ձեր երեխաներին 7 տարեկան ով ունի, մինչև 10 տարեկան, ամենաառաջինը քննադատելու տարբեր պատվելիներին, քրիստոնյաներին, երեխաները, որ գոնե այդ դրանով զբաղվեն դպրոցներում, ավելի հաճելի է, որ $40 տակ ամեն շաբաթ կամ Blockbuster-ի VIP member լինեն, որ մի հատ վիդեո խաղ խաղան, այդ վիդեո խաղի մեջ մարդասպանություն, հուկերին ծեծել, հուկերին ես անձամբ տեսել եմ, Vice City, Grand Theft Auto, that's the game.
You know, it's a trip. Parents take their kids to Best Buy and buy them 50 cents of Snoop Dogg.
Abres, they don't even know what it is. Ավելի լավ է 50 cent իրար հետ լսեք։ Գոնե դուք էլ լսեք, դուք գոնե կլաբ գնաք։ Եթե միջևերջ պետք է փոխվենք։ Եթե միջևերջ պետք է թույլ տանք, եթե մեր զավակները պետք է դառնան մեր ծնողները, if they're going to be our parents, might as well have fun as kids if we're acting like kids.
And in fact, that was one of the things I want to say. Parents, one of the things that they can do is stop being their friends and be their parents. Set boundaries for your kids.
There is no boundary.
Spend time with them. Have quality family. You don't need to spend money to always have fun. You don't need to spend money. You can go to the park and play frisbees. I know it sounds rinky-dink, but kids actually love bonding with their parents, especially at young ages.
That's what they miss. The minute they start using drugs or alcohol, whatever.
It's because they're not having relationship.
You know what an addict is? I'm going to answer the last question. Why people become addicts.
Yeah.
The reason is they don't love themselves.
Exactly.
Addicts and sinners are the same thing.
Yeah.
That's biblical. Addict is more.
Well, I think they love themselves too much in a sense that I understand what you're saying. This from a psychological perspective, but from a spiritual perspective, they have a need, and they meet that need in unhealthy ways instead of meeting it. And I think it comes down to knowledge. The Bible says, "My people die because of lack of knowledge." They have a need.
Mhm.
And
They
they
don't know
meet
what the
their
word
need.
love
It's
means,
like the
Dad.
song. They looking for love in all the wrong places.
They don't know what love is.
Exactly. Let me answer this phone call. Welcome to Unshakable Live. Who are you speaking to?
Hello, բարև ձեզ։
Parev.
Ես հիացած եմ ձեր առողջ ատողություններով եւ ձեր որ դուք ջակտեք եւ երիտասարդ եմ ես Արմեն։ Շատ օգտակար եւ գեղեցիկ խորհուրդներ եք տալիս եւ չի կարող հիացմունքս չթաքցնել։ Անշուշտ նաեւ ցավս, որ մենք ստիպված ենք նման հաղորդումներ ունենալ, եթե չլիներ մեր տխրուրականությունը, ձեր հաղորդման կարիքը չէր լինի, բայց քանի որ կա եւ քանի որ մենք դիմագրավում ենք այդ դժվարությունները, այս տակ հաղորդումները կարող են ընդհանրապես արտնացման եւ արտոնության կոչ անել մարդկանց։ Եվ շատ մեծ ցավով լսում եմ երբեմն հաղորդումներ, որոնք ոչ միայն ոչինչ չեն սովորեցնում, այլ ճիշտ հակառակը, ձեր մասին չի խոսքը, ուրիշ հաղորդումների մասին, որոնք ոչ միայն ոչինչ չեն սովորեցնում, նույնիսկ փչացնում են մեր եղած գիտելիքը, մեր ճաշակն են փչացնում, մեր հոգին են աղավաղում, մեզ սխալ տեղ են տանում։ Ես ողջունում եմ բոլորիդ եւ աղթում եմ ամենայն բարիք, հիացած եմ ձեր գեղեցիկ մտածելակերպով եւ այո։
Thank you.
Արուն միայն մի բան կարող է փրկել մեզ, սերը եւ իրար հասկանալը, զիջելը, որովհետեւ բայց սիրել, իսկապես սիրել, որտեղ խոսքով, այլ գործով սիրել, մենք պետք է մեկ բռունց դառնանք, իրար սիրենք, իրար ներենք, մենք մեզ ներենք նրանց, ովքեր մեզ չարություն են արել, եւ միայն ներողամտությունը կարող է աշխարհը փրկել, որտեղ ներողամտության հիմքում ես հիացած եմ ձեր հաղորդմամբ, շարունակեք, ավաղ, հազար ավաղ որ ստիպված ենք նման հաղորդումներով հիանալ, որտեղ եթե չլիներ վատը դուք այսօր չէիք լինի, բայց ինչ արած, պետք է դիմանալ եւ պետք է պայքարել։ Ձեր բոլորին հաջողություն եմ մաղթում, Աստված բոլորիդ ուժ երամ։
Thank you. Thank you. Merci.
One story. We're about a week ago, me and one other guy went in front of Hoover. We were preaching, and the administration really doesn't like that. Even though they know their kids are involved with, they're having sex, ninth graders, they're doing the drugs, and we're out there. We're like, hey, don't do this, go to God. They don't like it. They don't want us there.
Yeah.
So they try to kick us off. But legally, we can be there, and we keep our legal rights, and then we preach. The most hardheads I came across was about 5 Armenians. Ninth graders, okay? And these guys are standing there arguing with me that the way I practice Christianity, which is biblical, is the wrong way. They're telling me, man, you should go have sex, smoke the weed, do this. And I'm like, and you guys consider yourselves Christians?
I'm sorry, you know why they're not listening to you and they don't want you there and you see so many hardheads? Because the parents don't believe in God.
It's exactly what their parents
for
would
them
say.
to listen. They don't see that at home and they're going to listen. If the parents incorporated that from a young age growing up,
exactly.
When you come up and speak to a young person about God, he's going to be humble and listen to you. That's the problem.
But yet we find some, like remember the analogy I gave, that are running into the shade.
Yeah,
of course.
They're seeking help despite the unhealthiness of their parents, and because ultimately they're responsible. On the day of judgment, they will not be standing there with their parents, their friends, or anyone. God will say, "What did you do with the life that I gave you?"